Welcome to another episode of the Bottom of the Stream Movie Show. My name is Adam.
My name's Nick. I had to shout quite loudly because I'm quite far away.
We are.
I'm in 1936.
We're in the Wayback Machine. It's great. What do you think of the 30s? It's dark.
Yeah, I mean, I know that there's some bad times are coming.
Yeah.
Across the world.
It's not going to be a fun
Do I have the ability to... Do I know what I know now?
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm not having a great time, probably.
Probably not. Why are we in the Wayback Machine?
Because you have played your wild card this week
I have.
on Bottom of the Stream. Us, as your hosts,
Yep.
and our top-level Patreons will get a wild card every season on Bottom of the Stream. And that means we turn off Robin the Randomizer for a week and get to choose which movie we are watching. And this is what you have chosen.
This is what I've chosen.
Why have you chosen this?
I wanted to do something a little bit different. I figured we do an 80s movie occasionally on this show, and I figured we'd probably do one. We haven't done one for a while. And then I was like, I got to 80s movies on Netflix, and then I kept going. Yeah. And I got further and further back, and I found this, and I was like, I didn't know it existed. Yeah, I was like, why not? We've never done it before. I've never seen a movie this old before, apart from probably Wizard of Oz, and even that's not quite as old.
No.
But yeah, so I thought, why not? Fuck it, let's just do it. It's the shortest movie we've ever done. It's only an hour and 5 minutes long.
Okay.
And it's the oldest movie we've ever done by quite a considerable time. 40 odd years, probably.
Yeah. Sweeney Todd, the Demon Barber of Fleet Street. A story which I'm sure most of you are familiar with.
Yes.
If not this version.
Absolutely. Do you want to hear some history on the actual story of Sweeney Todd?
Why not?
Before we get into it. Sweeney Todd is a fictional character who first appeared as a villain in a Penny Dreadful serial called The String of Pearls.
Okay.
Which was released in 1846 and 1847. It tells the story of a legend of a barber from Fleet Street who murders his customers with a straight razor and gives their corpses to Mrs. Lovett, the partner in crime, who bakes their flesh into meat pies. Since then, the tale has been told multiple times in various different medias. There are claims that Sweeney Todd was a real-life historical person.
Okay.
Peter Hanning, I think his name was. He wrote a book about it. I have that book. It's on the desk right next to you.
You do, yeah.
Since that book was released, it has been widely disputed and pretty much debunked. But it's quite an entertaining book, so you should probably check it out. Yeah, it's been around for going on for 200 years, 180 years as a story. Yeah. So, and it's been told numerous times.
Yes, I mean, look, there's a very famous musical.
Yeah.
There's a film version of that.
Yes.
It might have been the last time Tim Burton did anything halfway decent. And even that's still not amazing.
Yeah.
I would say. I would think most people have a passing knowledge of at least what Sweeney Todd's profession is and the sort of story behind him.
Oldest reference to the story in its present form is found in the diary of the Swedish traveller Per Lundström, and his diary dating from the middle of the 17th century.
Okay.
The story, though, is set in Calais, which is where the author heard the story. The story includes all the details of the legends except for the name of the character himself. It's also possibly based on a character from the Charles Dickens Pickwick Papers, who was a butcher who made pies out of cats.
Okay.
So they reckon it might have come from there. It could have also come from Martin Chuswick.
Cat pie, anyone?
Yeah, no thanks.
I'll take the fur off.
Yeah, it's a story that's as old as stories itself. Why not? So this particular version, or this particular telling of this story, as we just said, was released in 1936. It doesn't have a rating in the UK. It is rated as A for all.
Do we not go back and rate
I don't think so.
old films?
Yeah, maybe not. Doesn't have one. It's on for 1 hour and 5 minutes, and it's currently rated at 5.8 out of 10 on IMDb.
Okay.
So it's right in our wheelhouse.
Oh, yeah,
right in the middle of the scale. That's the word I'm looking for. This film stars a guy called Todd Slaughter.
Aptly named.
Aptly named. Also known as the immortal Todd Slaughter.
Yeah, that's not true.
That's not true. And he's also known as Europe's Horror Man. That's what it says on the poster for this film. He plays a character called Sweeney Todd. He had this ambition in life to make films that Victorian people would have made had they been able to make films.
Yeah.
He was in lots of Victorian movies. He's also widely regarded as England's version of Bela Lugosi or Boris Karloff.
Except you've never heard of him.
Except you've never heard of him. Absolutely. Do you want to know a bit more about Todd Slaughter?
Yes, what an interesting character this guy is.
What an interesting character this guy is. So he was born Norman Carter Slaughter on the 19th of March, 1885. So only a few years younger than the actual story of Sweeney Todd himself. He was an English actor best known for playing over-the-top maniacs in macabre film adaptations of Victorian melodramas. He pretty much invented the term ham. He's very hammy.
Well, look, if there's one word for his performance in this movie, it certainly would be hammy. I, in fact, texted you that
You did,
about 15 minutes into me watching this movie.
You did, indeed. He usually played the villain in films. He started off on stage, though, as N. Carter Slaughter. That was his first original acting name. He primarily played the conventional leading man or character roles. After the First World War, he ran the Theatre Royal in Chatham, in Kent, and before taking over the Elephant and Castle Theatre in London for a memorable few years from 1924. Those years have since passed into British theatrical legend, apparently. I don't know why, but that's what it says. His company at that time revived Victorian blood and funded melodramas such as Mary and Martin, Sweeney Todd, Jack Sheppard and the Silver King. He went on to play the role of Sweeney Todd on stage over 2,000 times.
That's before this movie.
Before this movie. It was in 1925 that he has adapted his stage name as Todd Slaughter, but he was still at that point playing heroic roles on stage. He went on to play all sorts of like Sherlock Holmes characters, that sort of thing back in the day. He played Long John Silver in Treasure Island in 1931, went on to win awards for that. It wasn't until the age of 49 that he began his career in films, mainly because films weren't a thing when he was younger than that. His first ever film was called Maria Martin or Murder in the Red Barn in 1935, which is a Victorian melodrama filmed cheaply with Slaughter as the obvious evildoer. His second movie role was this one.
Okay.
So he went on to play this. He was then went on to play roles in The Crimes of Stephen Hawke, The Tickets of Leave Man, The Face at the Window, Crimes at the Dark House, but most of his films were known as quota quickies.
Yep.
Which is basically, there was a government requirement back when cinema was first a thing that at least a percentage of films shown in cinemas in Britain had to be British made. So a lot of low quality British films were made just to fill that quota. So they're known as quota quickies. And that's what he basically went on to do. He starred in all sorts of Victorian films. He played Jack the Ripper a few times. Moving into the 50s, he played a couple of films in the 50s. However, the public's appetite for melodrama seems to have abated somewhat by the stage, and he was declared bankrupt in 1953. So he, after all of that, ended up with no money.
Wow.
That owed to a downturn in his touring income. He continued to act on stage. His final play was Moliere's The Gay Invalid opposite future horror star Peter Cushing.
Oh, really? Wow.
Yeah. On February the 19th, 1956, at the age of 70, Slaughter died of coronary thrombosis in Derby. After his death, which followed a performance of Maria Martin, his work slipped almost completely into obscurity. Film historians recently have revived interest in Slaughter's cycle of melodramatic films, placing them in a tradition of cinema of excess, which also includes the Gainsborough melodramas and some Hammer horrors. He basically died and disappeared.
Yeah. Fascinating.
Nobody knows who he is, but he's a fascinating guy. There are other people in this film, obviously. There's not many. Stella Rowe plays Mrs. Lovett, and John Singer plays Tobias, who's the young kid. They're the only three people that have really got any presence on IMDb. There's nothing about anybody else in it, really.
I've got a good fact about one of the cast member.
Go for it.
I may wait until she turns up in the film.
Okay. Sounds good to me. Let's do it.
Because I've seen her in something else.
What?
Yeah.
Seriously?
Yeah.
Wow.
Something else from 1992.
What?
Yeah, exactly. There's a tease.
Wow, there is a tease. Okay. It was directed by a guy called George King. He made loads of this type of film. Again, he was making those quota quickies. He was just churning films out left, right and centre. It's interesting that we've recently interviewed a man who loves making Victorian movies. And now we're doing an original Victorian movie. Written by Frederick Haywood and H.F. Maltby. That's all my facts on this film.
Good names.
Thank you. But I didn't name them, but thank you anyway. Do you have a one-word review of Sweeney Todd and the Demon Barber of Fleet Street?
I was going to say cutting, but interestingly, he never cuts anyone's throat.
Never cuts anyone's throat.
So I'm going to say trapdoor.
Don't you open that trapdoor? Because there's something down there. In fact, in the original story of Sweeney Todd, he only slit throats if the people survived the fall through the trapdoor. So that's what he means by polishing them off. So the death was supposed to come through.
I'm going to get this out of the way straight away. I did giggle when he said, I'm going to polish you off, which he says a lot in this movie. That is his catchphrase.
That is his catchphrase. It was Sweeney Todd's catchphrase at
Yeah.
the time, mainly because he made it Sweeney Todd's catchphrase in the 2000 stage shows that he did. Yeah, but the original story of Sweeney Todd, he doesn't slit throats unless the people survive the fall. In the Johnny Depp one, the throat gets slit and then the fall gets done. So it's just a way. It's a bit more gruesome for a modern audience, I suppose. Where does this film start, Nick?
Credits.
Credit sequence. Pre-film credit sequence.
Yeah.
Do you know why?
Because you have to have the credits in front of your film back then.
Back then you did. There's no credits at the end of this film.
Yeah.
This film stops and Netflix just cuts off, which took me a bit by surprise.
Yeah. So credits, and then we're in London.
We are.
We're in present day London,
Yep.
except the present is 1936.
1936. Yeah. It's such.
I wasn't expecting the framing of in terms of a. I'll say flashback, but you know what I mean.
It's a flashback.
Yeah.
It's basically the whole film's a flashback. So we start off with a man entering a modern day barber shop, and he goes to get a shave. Basically,
He does.
For a
He
shave.
says he's a London businessman.
Yes, and basically the barber is chatting away to him, and this man spots a painting on the wall in this barber's, and it's of Sweeney Todd, or the legend of Sweeney Todd. So this barber begins to tell the story.
He does.
The
As
demon
the
barber
guy
of Fleet
is,
Street.
as they are, the barber and his assistant are
Shaving this man.
foaming the guy up.
Yeah, absolutely. And then
He says, that's Sweeney Todd. He was the best proponent of a razor that London's ever seen.
yeah,
Let me tell you this story. It was about 100 years ago.
yeah. So even though this film's now almost 100 years old, it's 86 years old. We're now going back even further.
Yeah.
So yeah, it's the first, probably the first use of a flashback in cinema history. Maybe, who knows? Might be. At the beginning, we meet two boys who meet up with two girls. That's how this film starts.
Sure. We're at the docks,
Yes,
for they are going away on voyage.
yes. This is clearly a set.
Yeah.
The whole film's set outside, but we're inside for all of it. There's nothing set outside on location anywhere.
Correct.
We're in studios and filming in studios. Yeah. So these are two sailors who have just come back to shore or are just about to leave.
They're about to leave.
Yeah. So they're about to leave on a journey.
There is Mark,
Yep.
who is betrothed, or
Would like to be betrothed.
yes, is seeking the blessing of his lady's father,
Yes.
and that is Joanna.
Yep.
These names will be familiar to you if you have seen any other version.
Yeah.
Of this
Absolutely.
movie.
All of the names will be. Joanna's father is the governor.
Yeah, he's like in charge of boats.
He's in charge of boats and stuff. And the other lady is Joanna's like lady in waiting, I guess.
Yeah,
Like,
Nan.
servant lady. She's called Nan.
Even though she's young. I've seen the lady who is named Davina Craig, who
Okay.
played Nan
Right.
in a movie before,
Really?
which I didn't realise till after when I was reading a bit about these people.
Okay.
I saw her in a movie that was released in 1992,
Wow.
directed by Peter Jackson, because Davina Craig emigrated to New Zealand
Right.
later in life, and she had a part in Brain Dead,
Really?
which I think was Peter Jackson's second movie.
Yeah, I think it was.
Which
She must have
is
been-
a zombie film.
She must have been old by then.
Yeah. Oh, there you go. Fact.
Good fact.
Yeah.
I like it.
Didn't
That's
expect.
mad. That's absolutely mad. How is somebody in this film also in Brain Dead?
Yeah, crazy.
That is absolutely mad. As soon as she started talking, I put the subtitles on for this film. She's too English, even for me. I could not understand a word of what
She
this
was
lady
very
was saying.
English.
She was very English.
I mean, it doesn't help that the sound in this is shot.
yes.
I mean, the dialogue's all right,
Yeah.
but the soundtrack's gone. So
Completely.
you can hear background music, but it sort of fades in and out, and
Yeah.
you get just hints of it. It's quite ghostly, actually.
It
And
is.
actually, although it's not the way this film was designed to be heard,
No.
I thought it quite added to it.
Yeah, maybe you
And
may
the
be right.
creepiness.
It's definitely not been remastered. This
No,
film.
you just
It's-
hear the odd sort of plink or screech of a violin. But
Yeah.
it's like you're like really straining to hear the whole thing, and it's I just
Would it have
added
been-
to the atmosphere.
Would it have been music would have been performed live maybe whilst these films were being played out? I don't know.
I've no idea.
Maybe. I don't know. No, it has not in any way been remastered at all. It is quite difficult to hear some of the dialogue. So I just put the subtitles on because I was missing stuff. And especially when this Nan lady was talking, because I had not got a clue what she was saying.
Yeah, so Nan meets up with Pearly.
Yeah.
I think I've just put these are the two commoners.
Yeah.
Pearly is also going away on this voyage.
Yeah, he's basically Mark's assistant and Nan's Joanna's assistant. Squire, yeah. And then we meet Sweeney for the first time.
He's just there to wave the ship off.
Yeah, he's basically hiding behind a phone box and being creepy and old and weird. And he talks about how people have beautiful throats.
Yes.
Which doesn't set anybody's alarm bells or anything.
No, he's just talking to a passerby about.
Yeah.
Yeah. He's waiting because he wants some time with the governor.
Yes.
We don't know why yet.
We don't know why yet. The governor shows up at this point. He is Joanna's father, as we've just mentioned. He does not like Mark.
No, he's like, you're poor.
Get away from my daughter.
Yeah.
Get my daughter back
get on
in
the
this
boat.
carriage. And you get off on that boat and we never want to see you again. He sends Mark back to his ship. Basically, Sweeney grasped them up. He's like, your daughter's just been talking to that sailor over there.
Yeah, you should get down here. Because...
trying to get into the pocket of the governor is what he's doing.
That's because he wants a stake in the new ship that the boat company is building or about to launch.
He does. And it's £15,000.
Yeah.
Is what he's prepared to pay.
It's a lot of money back then.
It's a lot of money now.
Well, yeah, obviously.
But in 1936, I imagine it was a lot of money. And 100 years before that, I imagine it was a heck of a lot of money.
Oakley says to
him,
Governor Oakley says, look, I'm interested in you investing. How about we discuss it later over a bowl of cut mutton and boiled fowl?
Oh, that sounds lovely, doesn't it?
Yeah.
Sheep and chicken. Boiled chicken and cut mutton.
Yeah.
What? Well, you have to cut it.
Sweeney Todd says that sounds great.
That sounds lovely.
You know me.
Yeah.
I love my mutton and
love
my
a bit
fowl.
Of cut mutton. So we cut briefly, but Joanna's then crying at home. She's in love with this guy. Yeah. She's not allowed to see him. Then Sweeney gets a new apprentice.
He gets a new boy.
Yes, a new boy. He's basically... I think they said he's gone through 7 in the last 8 days or something.
7 in 7 weeks.
7 in 7 weeks.
Suspicious.
Yeah.
And the guy from I think it's basically the guy from the local council.
I think it's like a children's home or something.
Yeah, but
it sells children.
Oh, maybe. But it's like, look, this is your 8th one in 8 weeks. What the hell are you doing with them?
I think he's just selling waifs to businessmen.
A great character name for this young lad, by the way.
Go on.
Tobias Ragg.
Great name. But it is a character in the traditional story.
Yeah.
In the Johnny Depp version, he's called Toby. So I guess that kind of works. He has to declare that he's there of his own free will. They make him say that out loud to say that he is. This guy was he died at the age of 67.
Okay.
So he lived a healthy life, not very old though. He gets the man who sells the children gets a guinea for every boy that he takes. A guinea is worth about £1 in modern day.
Okay.
And Todd instantly, when the man leaves, gives Tobias a penny to go and buy a pie from Mrs. Lovett's pie shop.
Only after he tells him a story about a barber's boy he used to know.
Yes.
Who couldn't keep a secret.
Yes.
And had his tongue cut out. So, yeah. Then, off to the pie shop with you.
Yep. Goes to buy a pie. He goes to meet Mrs. Lovett. She gives him a pie. He basically tells her that he's Sweeney's new apprentice boy.
Yes.
She knows how this deal works. Whilst the boy is down buying his pie or up buying his pie.
Oh, he's eating it. He's supposed to be eating it and not coming back for a while.
Yeah. So she goes down into a tunnel, basically. That is
a shared basement.
Yes. The two shops have a shared basement.
Up the stairs, and she's in the barber shop.
Yes, she is indeed. And she does not like Sweeney Todd.
They kind of vaguely blackmail each other.
Yeah.
She's like, I could ruin you.
Yeah, she
and he's like, well,
him.
I could ruin you.
Yeah.
That's why we're in this relationship.
She said, I could hang you, Sweeney Todd.
Yeah.
That was one of her lines. It's interesting
She's like, don't squander our money.
Yeah. It's interesting that in the early telling of the Sweeney Todd stories, these two were enemies. And as the stories evolved over the years, they become lovers.
Yeah.
And they're actually lovers in the more recent tellings of this.
But story. This is already clearly a well-established scheme that they have going on.
Yeah.
We're not joining it at its start, that's for sure.
Going into this story of Sweeney Todd, do you find Mrs. Lovett a bit more monstrous than Sweeney Todd himself?
For the fact that she's
doing the butchery,
cutting
she's
and cooking and
cutting and willingly selling these body parts to passers-by.
I mean, if we're point scoring, yeah, I guess.
I think she's a bit more monstrous. I don't know why.
Because you're not doing the killing.
Yeah, but she's almost a bit sympathetic as a character. People kind of feel for her a little bit more. Whereas I think she's possibly a little bit worse. Yeah, they have a bit of an argument. She threatens to expose him. She says, I could get you hung.
Tobias walks back in.
Yes.
And he's like, what the fuck? You were just next door.
He was very confused about how she managed to get there before him. Sweeney then says, look, what the fuck have you come back here for? You're far too early. I'll cut your tongue off, you little brat. He's not nice to Tobias at all. We then cut back to Joanna. She's getting dressed up. She's getting ready for dinner.
So Sweeney Todd, because he's going to his appointment with the mutton and the boiled fowl. And we hear Joanna say that Sweeney Todd is a pig.
Yeah, she doesn't like
I don't know why he's coming over.
Yeah. Meanwhile,
that guy's bad news.
Yeah. Meanwhile, the governor is getting an update on the cost of this new ship from his, I guess, business partner or secretary. The cost of the ship is too high. They need another £9,000.
Yeah.
Sweeney's prepared to invest 15. Sweeney's the governor's new best friend. Joanna enters the room. Dinner's then ready. And we all sit down and have some dinner together.
Yeah. And then we suddenly cut to the next morning.
Yeah. That's the end of that day.
Yeah. There's no character development over dinner or... No.
Sweeney Todd is then greeting new arrivals at the dock. A ship has docked. And he is greeting people. He's basically trying to entice them into his shop.
It really made me laugh several times in this movie. Basically, every time Sweeney Todd procures a victim, the victim literally walks off the boat and goes, "Oh, I am home, and boy, am I a rich man. my pockets are full of guineas or pearls or
literally
precious stones."
This guy gets his pearls out and he's like
grotty, Victorian London full of ne'er-do-wells, and there's all these stupid rich guys going, "I'm rich."
Yeah. It's very hammy.
Yeah.
We cut back to Joanna. She's still getting changed, getting ready. She revealed. I laughed at this line because I thought it was quite funny. She reveals that she's only wearing 7 petticoats.
Yes.
And that isn't enough. Nan says you need to be wearing at least 9. She goes to grab her 2 more. I thought that was quite funny. Cut back to Sweeney Todd. He puts the man in his chair.
Yeah.
Special chair.
Everyone always goes to sit in the wrong chair in this movie, and he has to move them over
into the correct one. Tobias grabs some shaving jello.
A lot of talk of polishing off.
Yes, there
at
is.
This stage.
Yeah. Yeah. Do you think it was innuendo at the time?
No, not at all.
No, it's not, is it? It's weird, isn't it? How it's become. Yeah. This film's become more funny than it should be.
This guy literally, this rich guy sits in the chair and he actually goes, "Oh yes, so I've not been back in England for 12 years. I went to seek my fortune. I found my fortune. It's all here in my pocket, in my bag. This bag's full of cash. Oh, by the way, I've got no living relatives. I'm all on my own.
I've got no friends, got no relatives." Yeah. It does happen. Tobias lathers him up with shaving cream. And when he's finished that, Sweeney says to him, "Here's a sweet penny. Go out and buy yourself a pie. Don't come back till you finished it."
Yeah, a big enough pie to walk to X part of London and back.
Yeah,
that's what he always says.
Yeah. And then as soon as Tobias leaves the shop, Sweeney almost clubs his fingers together like an evildoer.
There's literally
he's got a really good evil laugh. To be fair, he pulls a little curtain back, and there's a lever behind this little curtain. He pulls the lever. The man falls through the floor. Todd does his evil laughing again, and the man is now dead in his basement.
Yeah.
It's a scheme that can't go wrong.
Sweeney Todd gets down there first. He pockets this bejeweled necklace.
Yes. He's got like a...
And he sort of squirrels it away before Mrs. Lovett comes around the corner.
Yes.
Because they're obviously supposed to be splitting all the
everything.
Proceeds.
Yeah.
But Todd's siphoning something off every time by the looks of things.
So her cue to go down into the basement is Tobias buying the pie because she knows that he's been sent away. It's time for her to go down to the basement. He then leaves Lovett with the body.
Yeah, it's like, right, over to you.
Yeah, this is the point where I thought she's
meeting.
A bit more monstrous than he is because she's like dragging this body away to get ready to butcher it.
Sure.
Cut it up for using the pies. He goes away and he goes to meet the governor.
Oh well, firstly he goes a riding with Joanna.
Oh, of course.
And gives her the necklace.
Yes. It's an old school way to shoot a carriage ride.
Yeah.
It's basically a screen playing footage behind them.
It is, yeah.
But it's nice though, isn't it? It's nice, cozy old Hollywood. It's just how it works. He gives her this jewel necklace. It's like he's creepy. He's lecherous. He wants.
She knows straight away.
He wants this young
clever,
girl,
yeah.
and she's not
She knows
interested
what
in
he's
this
up for.
dirty old man.
And then, surprisingly,
This one takes a turn.
we get a caption
Yeah,
on the screen.
yeah.
And the caption reads, "The Golden Hope," which is the ship
Yep.
which Mark and Pearlie went off on. "The Golden Hope nears the African outpost of Trader Patterson."
Yeah, we're going to the jungle, boys.
Yeah,
We're out of London now.
yeah.
We're on a boat.
Mark and Pearlie are talking about the girls they left behind.
Yeah.
And how they miss them. All that sort of stuff.
And then we meet this African trader who's waiting for this ship to arrive so we can start selling them some stuff.
Yeah.
There's also some tribal people, I've written in inverted commas. They're also waiting for this ship to arrive.
Well, the natives are starting to surround the outpost.
Yeah. There's going to be a fight. And then there is a fight.
Do we talk about how problematic this scene is?
It's 1936.
I know.
It is problematic now.
But how do you... I'm just saying, it's going to play a part in what I think of this movie, because that's how my modern day brain is wired.
Yes.
Because basically, the next 5 to 8 minutes of this movie
are incredibly racist.
Unbelievably racist.
Yes.
And insensitive, and it just... Obviously, it wouldn't be made today, but I'm also kind of thinking, should it even be in? It's difficult, isn't it, to say you should go back and take bits out of films which are of their time.
No, I don't think you can.
But it's
problematic.
It's
do you
really
also,
offensive.
Do you also look at it that like there's 10, 12, maybe 15 black actors who have been given a role in this film, which wouldn't happen in many films in that era, maybe.
Yeah.
And they would have got paid for it. They would have.
I can't even bring myself to say what the slave, let's say it is, the slave of Trader Patterson is named in this movie. It's just...
I don't know if I picked up.
It's awful.
Is it really?
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, don't say it.
I'm not going to.
But basically, it's completely unnecessary in this film as well. This whole
if
scene
this bit wasn't in this film,
it wouldn't matter.
No. Because all this exists, the only reason this part exists in this film is so that Mark can get this bag of pearls.
Yeah. Should we skip through the whole thing?
Yeah.
Basically, there's a tribal attack on this outpost. The trader who lives there, Patterson, I guess his name was, he gets killed in the kerfuffle.
His slave goes to the boat to say, come on, help
us
we're
out.
under attack.
The sailors go onto the shore. The man dies. He gives Mark a bag full of pearls.
Yeah, the sailors fight off the natives.
Yeah, he gives Mark a bag full of pearls and tells him where he wants to be buried.
Yeah,
on the island, whichever island they're on.
When Patterson got shot by the arrow, that was hilarious as well.
Yeah, it really was.
It was really bad acting.
Yeah, and when one of them gets speared as well, that was quite bad. Sweeney Todd, meanwhile.
Oh, also in the fight, the Golden Hope's captain dies.
Yes.
There's 2 deaths. It's Trader Patterson and the captain of the ship.
He's the one who gets speared, isn't he?
Yeah.
The captain.
So Mark is now acting captain.
Ipso facto captain.
And he's also got a massive bag of
pills.
pills.
Yeah, so this poor man that the governor did not want his daughter hanging around with is now a man who runs a ship and has a bag of pills.
Yes.
He's a rich pirate. Pirate? Sailor. He's not a pirate. Meanwhile, we cut back to Sweeney Todd. He's not happy that Joanna is not interested in him.
The deal's stalled.
Yeah.
He kind of says to the governor, look, we've been talking about this for ages.
Yeah.
When am I getting some profit, basically?
Yeah. And he basically blackmails the governor into giving him his daughter.
Yeah, he says if you're running into financial troubles, he says if you can't return my or give me a return on my investment, I'll just take the whole ship.
Yeah. And that would bankrupt the governor, which can't happen. So, but he's like, he gives him an ultimatum, doesn't he? He's like, because the governor laughs it off to start with, because he says, I want your daughter.
Yeah.
And he's like, but you're so much older. And he kind of laughs it off, and then Todd blackmails him.
Yeah, he
basically
says, make your daughter marry me.
Yeah.
And I'll consider our debt paid.
Yeah.
To be fair...
The governor, though, is not up for it.
No, and to be fair, I was quite surprised that this wasn't just formulaic, because after Todd leaves, Joanna comes in and talks to her father, and he's clearly worried, and she says, "What's wrong?" He says, "Oh, I'm in debt, it's going to bankrupt the company, I owe Todd money," but he doesn't sell her out.
No.
Because I was like, oh, he's just going to say, oh, the only way out of this is if you marry him. Nope. He's a good dad.
He's not having it.
He doesn't mention it to her.
You maybe get the impression that he knows who Sweeney Todd is and what he's doing.
Yeah.
But, he's not.
It seems to be like an open secret.
He's not letting his daughter anywhere near her.
Like he works for the BBC. Sorry.
When the next time we see Sweeney Todd is when Mrs. Lovett comes in and catches him dyeing his hair. Which I presume is because he's just been told he's too old.
Yeah, I guess so.
Because it just was like, why is he dyeing his hair? But he is dyeing his hair.
Because doesn't she say like, oh, you don't look a day older than her father?
Yes, she does say that.
Quite a good line.
Because news has travelled that he is into Joanna.
Yeah.
Mrs. Lovett is fully aware of this and he's going to use it against him. Meanwhile, Tobias brings news. Tobias comes back to the shop and brings news that the Golden Hope is back.
Yeah, it's approaching London.
Yes. So you need to get down there to get some new... custom. And we do. Todd goes down there and he immediately approaches Mark.
Yeah. Because
Mark is in charge and he convinces him that he needs a haircut.
He says, look, you good,
welcome back.
Captain like you, are you off to see your lady friend?
Yeah.
Well, come and sharpen up at mine. I'll polish you off.
Obviously, Todd knows who Mark is. He knows he's Joanna's love interest in this film. And he knows that he wants him to sit in his chair. Joanna also then gets word that the ship is back.
Yeah, Nan tells her.
Her and Nan have a bit of
she says, oh, by the way, your boyfriend's rich.
Yeah, and he has survived, which they're both happy about. And also Pearlie has survived, which is Nan's love interest. So they're quite happy. They have a bit of a dance around, don't they?
Yeah.
Their boys are back in town. Meanwhile, Sweeney gets Mark into his chair. But Mrs. Lovett knows what he's up to here.
She's creeping around already.
She's already
downstairs.
Basically down in the basement. She knows why Mark's in that chair. She knows he's not.
Yeah.
She doesn't think he's rich.
And she's suspicious because she said it earlier that Sweeney is like siphoning off part of the funds.
And she knows that he's hot on Joanna, who is Mark's. So Tobias lathers him up again to get his shave ready, and then Sweeney sends him away again. We know how this works. And surprisingly to everybody, I think, he drops him with the lead. He pulls the lever.
I didn't think it was going to happen.
I didn't think it was going to happen. And he drops him through the hatch. As soon as he hits the ground, Mrs. Lovett moves the body out of the way.
Yes, she does.
So when Sweeney comes down, he obviously assumes that
Sweeney's already took the pills.
Yes, he has
before he
drops the chair. Sweeney comes down. He assumes obviously that Mark's survived this fall.
Yeah,
and has got away somehow. So he starts freaking out a little bit.
Yeah, because Lovett says, oh, have you checked the secret passage?
Yes.
Because there's a convenient secret passage.
Tobias then comes back. I don't know, because Mrs. Lovett's shop's closed.
Yeah.
Because obviously she's down in the cellar. He comes back, he's like, I can't get a pie.
Todd
Slaughter
twats him in the face.
Literally hits that kid. There's no way that's a fake movie screen hit. He beats the shit out of him. He smacks him, he goes down, then he kicks him back out again. Todd is then...
He's starting to panic a bit now. He can't
he's really
find
confused
his victim.
about where this body is. Mrs. Lovett says she's not seen it. She has no idea what's going on. So Sweeney goes to investigate. There's a hidden alleyway out of the basement. So he goes down there to investigate.
He can't find anything.
We find out that Mrs. Lovett has hidden Mark in a crate.
Yes.
In the basement. Todd comes back. He hasn't found anything. We find out at this point that Mark survives the drop.
Yeah.
Mark is still alive.
Kind of starting to come round.
Yeah.
And Mrs. Lovett says, "Stay there.
I will help
until
you.
I can sneak you out
come
later
back
on.
and I will help you when it's dark."
Yeah.
Later, he just turns up at Joanna's door.
Yeah, so he escapes off camera,
Yeah.
or is helped off camera.
Yeah, he's just there.
He's just at Joanna's window.
He's absolutely fine. He has no ill effects from this thing that kills everybody
he's not
else.
got his pearls.
He hasn't got his pearls, but he also is alive.
Yes, true.
Which this drop kills everybody else that we know of, but he is alive and doesn't seem to have any ill effects. He goes to Joanna's bedroom window door to try and sneak into her bedroom, which is, I imagine, quite...
He tells her what's happened.
Gives her the full story.
I'm going to get even with this guy.
I was rich when I got back off the ship. I've been robbed. I am now poor again.
Yeah.
And she's like, oh, for fuck's sake. But Mark says, I will bring Sweeney Todd down. Then they do a very unconvincing screen kiss, where they basically kiss each other's ears.
Yeah.
And then he leaves. Mr. Parsons then turns up at Sweeney's shop.
This is a fence.
Yes. So he's the guy who basically, when Sweeney gets something he needs to sell,
goods.
he handles the stolen goods. His name's Mr. Parsons. He doesn't want the pearls.
He's like, nah, pearls aren't in.
Pearls are not in. And also, they're quite hot.
Yeah.
People know that Mark came back with pearls.
Yeah, he calls him out, doesn't he?
Yeah,
he says, I know where you got those pearls from.
Yep.
I know about there's a missing rich guy because he never turned up at his hotel.
Yep.
And I know about these boys.
It's pretty obvious what's going on here, Sweeney.
Yeah.
That's what he says. Mark, we then go back to Mark, and he thinks, I'm going to bring Sweeney down, and I'm going to do this by dressing up as a farmer.
Yeah, he's going to, master of disguise.
There's all sorts of there's all sorts of Scooby-Doo surprises going on.
Yeah.
So Mark and Pearly work together, and he's got a wig, a few false sideburns. He puts them on. All of a sudden, he's a farmer. It doesn't look any different at all, by the way.
It puts a little bit of a country voice on.
Yeah, a little bit. Parson, meanwhile, does offer Sweeney Todd some money for the pearls, which he didn't want. He offers him $7,000.
I thought he asked Sweeney Todd for $7,000.
He does, because then he twists it.
He says, you give me $7,000 and I'll keep your secret.
He does. So Sweeney thinks...
Oh, and I'll keep the pearls.
Yeah, so he says to Sweeney to start with, house $5,000. Sweeney's like, no, they're worth more than that. He's like, house $7,000. And Sweeney's like, yeah, I'll take $7,000. He's like, no, I'm taking $7,000 from you. Because you've got a secret and I'm going to keep it. I've got all the evidence I need to bring you down and I'm going to blackmail you. So give me $7,000. And Sweeney says, fine, I'll go and get you $7,000. Have a seat in my chair. As if Mr. Parsons doesn't know everything that's going on.
Well, first, he twats him with a stool.
He does twat him with a stool after he asked for the pearls and $7,000 in gold sovereigns he wanted it in. He twats him with a stool because the guy's an idiot.
I love the cut here because it cuts before he hits him with the stool, and the stool is clearly intact when he hits him. But then after the cut's made, the stool's in a million pieces on the floor. It just added to it.
Yeah, it did.
It's because it's just of its time.
So he knocks him out of the stool. He puts him in the chair and tips him into the basement. Then, as soon as he's done that, literally the second after, Mark shows up in his farmer disguise, and literally, and Sweeney's not there at this point, is he? He meets Tobias first. Yeah. So Tobias tells him that he's afraid of Todd, and Mark says to Tobias, "Look, I will save you from this man.
Yeah, take this note.
Take this note to Joanna and tell her it has my mark on it. Yeah, like drop in the word.
Just say
whatever you
Mark.
do, say the word Mark, and she will know what you mean." Also, Pearly's outside, Mark's mate. He's dressed as a monk for an unexplained reason. I think it's presumably the only two costumes they had in the dressing up box.
Yeah, sure. Monk and farmer.
Yeah. And he gets into the basement. He finds this secret passage and reverses it and gets into the basement. Meanwhile, Tobias is playing along now with the ruse, and he starts lavering Mark up. And Todd, they go through the normal protocol. He lavers Mark up. Todd sends him away, and then this bit made me laugh as well. Sweeney Todd pulls the lever with Mark in the chair again, and flips him, but he holds on.
Yeah, he just holds on.
He just holds on to the arm,
and he's hanging upside down.
When he's underneath, I presume this chapter's got two chairs.
I guess so. Yeah,
it's like it spins, and there's another chair, and then it spins back, and there's another chair, and he's holding on. And obviously, Pearly's already down there. He saves Mark, and they're now both in the basement. And then they leave.
They just go.
I
was like, oh, you're not going to
do anything.
Get him now?
No.
You're just going to go.
Yeah.
It's just proving that
I think he just wanted to prove his point, even though he'd already been flipped once already. It was bizarre. Todd then goes to see Mrs. Lovett.
No, he goes downstairs. He's like, fuck, where's this guy gone
There's
now?
one survived now. Mrs. Lovett's down there, and she's like, he's convinced that she's helping him.
Yeah, and she says, I didn't help this one.
No, I did help the last one.
And he says, so you
did help the last one.
Yeah.
And then they have a fight, and she pulls a knife on him and everything. They have a fight over the table. And then Tobias arrives at Joanna's house.
This bit was weird.
He tells her absolutely everything. He's completely honest with her. He tells her the whole story that he knows.
Yeah.
He doesn't know everything, but he's got his ideas of what's going on.
3 things are happening at once now.
Yeah, so we're all kicking off.
Mark sends Pearly to get the rest of the crew from the boat.
Yep.
Because they're going to go after Todd.
Yep. Pearly, in the meantime, is eating a pie while this conversation is going on.
Because he snuck a pie.
Snuck a pie from the basement.
Sweeney Todd is packing his stash of jewels.
Yeah, valuable.
All the stuff that he siphoned off. getting ready to leave town. And Joanna and Tobias are swapping clothes.
Yes, they swap clothes.
Because she's going to go back to the shop.
Yeah, she's going to go to the shop to be the new assistant.
And it specifically says, we've swapped clothes.
Yeah.
I mean, she's twice the size of this kid.
Yeah, this kid's like 12, 13 maybe.
Probably younger than that.
Probably younger than that.
But she's not as... It sounds like she's big.
She's not
a
big,
small woman.
but she's not a child.
She's an adult.
Yeah.
He's a child. This kid is a child. There's no way she could fit in his clothes.
No, but she fits perfectly in his clothes. But her clothes are far too big for him.
Yeah.
So he's running around in this massive dress.
Yeah. It was just really weird.
It was really weird.
Why is this happening?
You can't imagine a young boy putting a dress in the 30s either, but it happened. He's very much not happy about wearing this.
Do you think that like the audiences were rolling around at this in
they're
in
laughing
the aisles?
There's a kid in a dress. That's funny. He's not happy about being in this dress. He makes no bones about the fact that he's not happy about having to wear a lady's dress. She looks great in the men's costume.
Yeah.
Or the boys' costume. So she goes to the shop because she's going to pretend. She's basically doing the same thing that Mark's just done. She's going to go and try and catch him in disguise because Sweeney Todd is not good at picking up when people are in disguise.
All she's done is put a bit of muck on her face.
Yep. Oh, it's cinders from the fire, wasn't it? Tobias did it for her. So she gets there. She knocks on his door. She says, "I'm your new apprentice." Tobias has cleared off somewhere. I'm going to be the new one. He doesn't recognise her at all, even though he's madly in love with her. And he says, "Right, sweep the floor. Do something useful."
There's a cut here as well where Pearlie's like eating a pie.
Yeah.
And he's like, "Oh, I wonder where the bodies are."
Yeah.
And the camera focuses on this pie. And I just thought it was quite interesting because this movie never outright says Mrs. Lovett is chopping people up.
No, it never actually says it.
Yeah.
You just know the story, I guess. But yeah, that's interesting. You're right. Whilst Joanna is sweeping, she either accidentally or on purpose drops a purse on the floor.
Yeah.
And reveals who she is.
Well, Sweeney
reveals that she's not the person that she says.
Yeah, because Sweeney Todd is like, "Oh, why has she got a bag full of money?"
Yeah. So they fight.
Like, this was weird as well.
Yeah.
Because he didn't strike her or anything.
No.
She just went limp.
She just passed out.
Yeah.
I suppose you can't have a man punching a woman in a film,
not.
but yeah, they basically fight, and then all of a sudden she's unconscious.
Yeah, so he puts her in a cupboard.
It looked like he'd done it by mistake. It looked like he didn't mean to knock her out. Then he locks her in the cupboard. And then he sets the place on fire.
He does.
He goes into the basement, piles up all the furniture, gets some hay from somewhere as kindling, sets that on fire, and the whole place goes up. And then he leaves with his valuables. Nan discovers Tobias in the dress. She's not falling for this ruse. She can pick up disguises. She goes to find Mark. She tells Mark Joanna's gone, and they all run to the shop.
She's at Sweeney Todd's.
Yeah. She's gone. He's at Sweeney Todd's. They all run there. Meanwhile, there's a small crowd gathering outside the shop because they've spotted the fire.
Yeah.
There's all smoke coming out the
Sweeney
window.
Todd's not left town. He's just over the road watching
he's
this
literally
whole thing
just
go
behind
down.
his phone box again. And then he opens the purse that Joanna dropped on the floor.
Yeah.
And in it is the necklace that he gave her earlier.
Yeah.
And he realises who he's left in this fire.
He shrugs it off.
Yeah,
He's not bothered.
Fair enough. Mark shows up literally screaming her name. Runs into the shop like a fucking superhero. Finds her in the cupboard. And because he's gone in, Todd's like, "Well, I'm not going to get away with this now." So he runs back in.
But he still could have. He still could have done a runner.
Yeah, but I think he didn't want Mark to have Joanna, did he?
No, and that ended up being more vital to him than the money, I guess.
Yeah,
because he was gonna leave, and then when he saw Mark arrive,
he didn't want Mark to be the hero. He runs back in,
or that he was that in love with Joanna that he couldn't bear to it. But that, I think that just left me cold because I didn't. The strength of his feelings for her weren't.
No, because he realised just before that who she was,
and
didn't go back in at that point.
Yeah, exactly. It was messy.
It was a little bit. The ending of this film is a little bit messy. Mark and Sweeney Todd then fight in the shop whilst the shop's on fire. Mark manages to knock him out, and he grabs Joanna, carries her out like a superhero.
Happens to lay her down using for her pillow the bag
Todd's
full
bag
of
Sweeney
Todd's jewels.
He basically wakes her up with a kiss, and they are lying on Todd's valuables. Sweeney Todd, meanwhile, has been knocked out on top of his trapdoor chair, and the fire burns the lever, which triggers the chair to spin, and he falls through.
Presumably to his death, although we do not see a body.
We don't know that, but the basement is massively on fire.
Yes, it is very much
and
on
he
fire.
falls into that basement. And we basically get a screen full of flame.
Yeah.
And then we cut back to the modern day, 1936.
Yeah, I forgot about that.
Yeah, we forgot that this is a flashback from a film. The barber's basically finishing up telling his story. He has terrified this man that he's telling this story.
Yeah, because all the while the barber's telling his story and he's sharpening his blade.
And the man runs away. And as he runs out of the shop, who should he run into? A man selling pies.
Yeah.
And then the film ends.
Yep.
That's it. That's your story.
Yeah, that's it.
What do you think?
Look, I enjoyed watching this because it is just so different to anything we've done before.
Completely different.
It's going to be hard to put in a stream table because is it any good? I don't know. I don't know how I'm judging it. I don't think the performances are good. It is cheap, even though it's 90 years old. Do you know what I mean? You are seeing sets wobble.
It was it would have been cheap even at the time. It was made as a cheap movie.
But
it was one of these quota quickies to.
There is an element of charm to it.
Yeah.
Because it's so hammy. It's so hammy.
Todd Slaughter is the definition of ham in the dictionary.
I think you can tell this guy is a stage actor because he is playing to the cheap seats.
Yeah, absolutely. 100%.
That's what this performance is.
Yeah.
And no one else is in this movie. And it's really odd juxtaposition.
He really shows up everybody else. He's
in a different movie.
He's in a different movie to everybody else. He's acting in a very different style to everybody else is doing. This is his one-man show.
But it kind of works.
Happen to be there. It does work.
I don't know if it's any good. I suspect it's not. But I kind of enjoyed it.
I really enjoyed it. It isn't good. I mean, but I don't think it was ever intended to be good.
Yeah.
I think it was always intended. Even back in 1936. Is
it a bottom of the stream movie from 1936? Even upon its release?
Well, I've forgotten to give you a fact that I found out at the beginning of the film, so I'm going to give it you now. This film is one of over 200 titles in the list of independent feature films made available for television presentation by Advanced Television Pictures, announced in the Motion Picture Herald on the 4th of April 1942. So basically, when TV was invented, somebody goes, we could probably put films on TV. Here's a list of 200 films that could go on TV. This was one of those films. Okay. That procedure, that plan, was completely cut off by the Second World War.
Yeah.
So everybody was like, we could put all these films on TV, and then nobody ever put any films on TV because there's a war going on. Would not continue to develop until 1946. And because of poor documentation, no record has yet been found of its initial television broadcast.
Okay.
However, its earliest documented telecast occurred on Saturday, the 25th of November, 1944, on New York City's pioneer television station, WNBT. So it was almost 8 years before it was even ever shown to anybody, other than in a cinema, which nobody would have gone to see.
Yeah.
It was actually released as a double bill in the cinema with a film that was called The Return of the Frog, which was a sequel of a film called The Frog.
Okay.
So nobody would have ever seen it in the cinema. It was 8 years before anybody ever really seen it on TV. And even then, in 1946, not many people had TVs. So there's a possibility that nobody's really ever seen this film. It has had a bit of a resurgence in America recently. It's actually quite well regarded in American old movie culture.
Okay.
A lot of Americans like it. Like you say, it isn't very good. It was never made to be any good. It isn't supposed to be any good.
Yeah.
But it's entertaining for what it is. It's the story of Sweeney Todd. Sweeney Todd? Super Ted. It's an hour long. It flies by.
And maybe that's what it's got going for it. You know these people. You know these characters. You know the story. It's just an old version of that. It's more subtle in some ways than I expected because no one ever says outright this lady is cutting these people up and putting them in pies.
No, it's very much implied, but it's never actually said.
I'm really glad I watched it.
Me too. I'm really glad I picked it. I'm happy with it as a wildcard choice. I'm not expecting to win the wildcard race this season, but I'm happy that I picked it.
Yeah.
And I'd happily...
it's a good choice.
I'd happily maybe do another old film in the future on Bottom of the Stream. There are other old films on Netflix. There just seems to have been a lot added lately, actually.
I believe they've done a deal with some... there's a lot of old Scandinavian movies.
Yes, there is.
I think they've done a deal with a... I think it's a Swedish production company.
Yeah.
But yeah, look, this is a great change of pace, I've got to say.
What's the best thing about it?
That's a good question.
Todd Slaughter. Finding Todd Slaughter.
He is the most memorable thing about this.
Yes.
Yeah. He's in, like I say, he's in a different movie.
He knew that role back to front. You could tell he'd done it 2,000 times on stage.
Yeah.
He knows that character. He is that character. He's still.
He looks like Sweeney Todd.
That book that I mentioned earlier, the Sweeney Todd might be a true person, is dedicated to Todd Slaughter.
Yeah.
And there's a whole section about him in it.
Yeah.
He is Sweeney Todd. He personifies that role. I think he's the best thing about it. What would you change about it? I think that's obvious. I think you cut out that whole jungle sequence.
Does not fly for me.
No.
That
I'd cut that whole sequence out and maybe show him murdering a couple more people. You only actually see him murder one person.
Yeah, because but Captain Mark could have found those pearls in any number of ways.
Yeah,
could have dug them up. He could
just tell the story of what happened.
The trader could have still just died because he was an old dude.
Yeah,
just
tell the story of what happened. You don't need to show it. It looked really cheap, that section as well.
Yeah.
It didn't look. You could tell they weren't in Africa. You
could
tell they weren't even on a ship.
I thought it also really interrupted the flow. Putting that caption,
yeah.
I was like, "What? I didn't care."
Yeah,
I didn't care.
Yeah,
I didn't. Want
it was
to
almost
go
like
these
a
people.
byproduct of a silent movie era. That was. It was how it was suddenly telling you where we were. Yeah, he cut that whole sequence out and just give us a few more. He never cuts anybody's throat in the whole film.
No,
he never.
What happens to Miss Lovett?
What happens to Mrs. Lovett? You don't know. He never tells you. He talks about polishing people off, but never actually does it. He only kills one person.
Yeah.
I think. Give me a few more murders, make it a bit more grisly. We need to talk Stream Table now.
Yep.
We've been putting it off, but we need to do it.
Yeah, let's do it.
Do you want me to read up from the bottom?
Okay.
There's 15 films in the Stream Table currently. Currently at 15th is Set Up, 8 Remains, Target, Hard Times, Comes a Bright Day. The top 10 are The Land of Steady Habits, in 9 The Parts You Lose, 8 All at Sea, 7 Robot Overlords, 6 XOXO, 5 is Bodygam, 4 is Pentagram, 3 is The Trip, 2 is Ghosts of War, and 1 is Summit of the Gods. Where does Sweeney Todd and the Demon Barber of Fleet Street go in that table, Nick? I think it goes at number 1 personally.
Serious?
No. I just want to beat. I wanted to beat.
I thought you were. Thought you were trying to do me after last week. Okay, total gut reaction. 7th.
Above Robot Overlord.
Yeah,
I will take it because I was going to say 8th. So.
I've literally just thrown a dart in that list. That's just. I've not thought about it. I didn't want to think about it because it would be difficult, and that's my gut reaction. 7th.
This is weird. Now I'm going to talk you down.
Okay.
On my wildcard pick, I think Robot Overlords is slightly better than this.
Look, how do you compare?
You can't.
Right, if you want it down 1, let's move it down
you can't.
1.
It's definitely better than All at Sea.
Yeah.
I think it's a bit of a disservice to Ben Kingsley to put this back.
You're probably right. Let's go 8th.
8th. How weird that I've just talked myself down.
Yeah.
Where's your wild card?
7th. Thanks.
Okay, that's fine. Where are the rest of the wild cards? Was Sam's The Trip?
Yes, it was.
And Ross's was Summit of the Gods. We've just got Jordan's to play.
Yeah.
Jordan's always last.
That's fine. It's tradition.
Needs to be better.
No, it's tradition.
It is tradition. Cool. Okay, so yeah, you can beat me in the wild card race this season. First time for everything.
I think it's happened every time. But there we go. Close run thing.
Very much so. Very much so. That being said,
look, despite that,
yeah,
great choice.
Thank you. It was just something a little bit different.
Yeah, 100%.
And we've learned a lot about Todd Slaughter.
Oh, so this episode's going to be probably longer than the movie.
Yeah. I thought we'd struggle to get an episode out.
No.
We really haven't.
When I
saw how long it was before we'd watched it, I knew after we'd watched it we wouldn't. We've gone longer than we normally do, so all good. We need next week's film.
We do.
Shall we get Robin out?
Let's do it.
Robin is in the room. He's going to pick us a film. Are you ready?
Go for it, Robin.
It has picked a film called The CEO.
Okay.
Any ideas?
None whatsoever.
Okay, let me look it up on IMDb. CEO is described as a drama mystery thriller.
I like a drama mystery
thriller. Favorite type. It's from 2016. It runs for an hour and 45 minutes and is not in the English language.
Okay, where are we going?
We, unbelievably, are going to Nigeria.
Oh, amazing.
This is a Nigerian film.
I'm already excited.
According to this, the languages spoken in this film are English, French, Arabic, Yoruba, Swahili, and Chinese.
Brilliant.
So there's all sorts of shit going on. So hopefully it's got
multicultural.
It's got a dub first.
No, we're in now.
Fuck's sake, man. Do you want the synopsis?
Yes.
5 top-level staff of a company are selected for a retreat where the new CEO of the global company will be chosen. What starts off as cordial soon goes sour as they attempt to outdo one another to be named the CEO.
Okay, I'm on board. This sounds like fun.
It does. It's 5.7 on IMDb. Only has 122 ratings, though.
Wow. Okay.
Excited?
Yeah, very.
Let's go and watch it then. So we're going to go and watch The CEO. In the meantime, check us out on Instagram, Twitter, and Letterboxd at BOTS_podcast. If you want to drop us an email, our email address is bottomofthestream@gmail.com. Or you can visit our website, bottomofthestream.com. On the website, you will find every episode we've ever recorded, all 6 season stream tables, loads of other cool stuff, and you can even get some merch if you want to buy a Bottom of the Stream
Flip-flop.
flip-flop. Just one.
Yeah,
not
just
a pair.
flip.
Just a flip, no flops.
Yeah.
We don't sell flops. Well, although we only do flops. This is what we do here. After you've done all that, head over to Patreon, patreon.com/bottom of the stream. On there for a couple of quid every month, you will get early access to episodes. You will get bonus episodes. You will get a newsletter that Nick writes every month. And if you come in at the top level, you can do what I've just done and play a wild card, which means you get to pick the film that we watch. And then when you've done all of that, head into Discord. Discord is a group of wonderful film-loving people who will chat to you, talk to you, play games with you, watch films with you, do everything you want. You can have join this nice little community where we do watch-alongs and all sorts of cool stuff.
Yeah.
The Discord link will be in the bottom of the show notes.
Come and find us there. It's good time.
We need to organise the next watch-along. We need to get Robert 2 done.
Okay.
We'll sort that out.
If you can spare a few minutes, please consider leaving us a review anywhere you can review or rate podcasts. We are on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, Podchaser, Podbean, Cephalopod, iHeartRadio.
Cephalopod's been closed for ages. don't try and find us.
Pandora, all the places you can get podcasts. We are on those places. Come find us. Let's have more fun.
Do it. And then when you've done that, go out and watch The CEO. And we'll be back on Monday for The Wave and next Thursday for The Movie Show.
Cheers.
Bye.